What's up, everybody, and welcome in to another edition of Big Men on Basketball. It is Wednesday, November 9th, 2022. Hope you're all having a great day. It is a beautiful day around here. We are just several days away from the Barstool Invitational in Philadelphia. I'm looking forward to that. Got two great games. Already kind of preparing for that. Shit, I have the I don't know why that's playing. That was me. I had my show up. How's everybody doing today? Another small card today, but you know what we'll do? We'll kind of look through it, see what we can find, have some fun, talk a little action, get started a little bit on college football as well. If you have questions on college football, I'll do that at the end, but send your questions in now. Another short card today. I will say last night, literally every play I talked about won, except the one I actually bet at a one-unit level, Montana. What are you going to do? It's hard sometimes when you have a team and they just can't miss, which is what Duquesne did last night. There's not much you can do there, unfortunately. And, Montana couldn't make anything. They couldn't miss. That's how things go sometimes. That's basketball for you. And if that is not how you want things to go, you shouldn't bet basketball because that kind of stuff can happen all the time. You're really a kind of a slave to what goes on in a way. You could put all the handicap and stuff out there, but sometimes the team just doesn't shoot the ball real well. And they face a team that could beat the dream team. So you move on. It's one game. I don't really look at game to game like that. For me, I put stuff out there. At the end of the week, I look at it and see how I do. I just want to tell you this. If you are someone that constantly beats yourself up or beats other people up about one game, two games, even a week of games, you're in the wrong business, guys. Okay, this is not something that is going to be a proven science. You just do what you can do. You try to put that effort and work in. You try to get after it. Approach the cards differently every day. Welcome in. Make sure you hit that like button if you're here. If you have a question for me, you're welcome to ask. Where are you posting picks? Right here. You can join this show every day and get my information. I'm trying to build something here. So I want you guys to join me, and that's how you can get my stuff every day. If you have any private questions, you can reach out to me. But again, I generally try to look at most games. When we have a small card, I try to look at most games. So I'm just going to kind of go down the card and kind of give you my thoughts on each of these games. There's not a ton tonight. So we're really just kind of start there. We'll then go into some football, talk about some of the games, not only tonight, but over the weekend. I will tell you my next couple of days. Tomorrow, I will be doing this show live from a hotel room in Philadelphia. So I'm going to be remote doing this. We'll do some football. I got a guest coming on to talk about some hoops. And then Friday, I'm not going to have a show. I'll be doing all sorts of stuff with the Invitational. So I urge all of you to tune into that. Actually, tomorrow night, I'm going out to dinner with the Toledo basketball team. I was invited. The coach invited me. He said, why don't you come on down? I knew the restaurant well. So that'll be cool, kind of yapping it up with those guys and have a meal and, get to know the team a little bit. So a lot going on. All right, let's get into the card. I want to talk about each game and kind of go through what I'm thinking here with this. As far as tonight, you don't necessarily have to ask anybody any games because I'm going to try to go through every game. John Bacar says most people not free for an hour during the workday. Well, I don't know what to tell you, brother. My job is to create content. So, yeah. All right, let's get into the games. Youngstown State and UT Martin. So the other night, UT Martin played Pittsburgh. And I'll tell you, I was not impressed at what I saw. I thought maybe their guards, KJ Simon and Parker Stewart, could hang around against a team that was without certain players. But I got to tell you, they looked really poor. I think they had 10 turnovers combined. And this is really, for me, I think going to take some time for UT Martin to get going. Remember, this was an 8-22 team last year. As I said on Monday, I don't think they're going to be 8-22 this coming season. They're going to be improved, much improved. Probably compete in the OVC now that Belmont's down and things like that. But it's going to take some time. And I'll tell you something about Youngstown State. I'm really high on this team. I love what they have coming back. They're really well coached under Jared Calhoun. and they brought in some really good transfers, one of which, Brandon Rush from Fairleigh Dickinson. He's a good player. This team has some real nice players, particularly on the transfer market and ones they already have. Garrett Covington. This is a decent, really solid team. I think they're the best team in the Horizon League, which that's hard to say because the Horizon League every year is a real mishigas once we get to the March time. But I really like this team. You look at first game, I think an 11-point win against Canisius. It wasn't really even that close. Scored 92 points in the game. I think in the second half really just kind of went to sleep a little bit and gave up a lead and gave up some points they probably shouldn't have given up. When I'm looking at this game, I see a number 8.5. I think that's a little cheap here. I think Youngstown has no trouble scoring in this game. This is not a great defensive team when we're looking at UT Martin. They should be able to really get what they want inside. And I think, again, it's going to take some time for Parker Stewart to get kind of adapted to this type of offense, a new team. Remember, he comes over from the Big Ten, so this is a little bit different for him. Will they get theirs? Probably. But I kind of felt like this game was more along the lines of like 10 as opposed to 8.5. So definitely an interesting one to start the night out. This Youngstown State team, a team to keep an eye on this year. This is going to be one of those mid-majors that if they can get to the tournament, they might pull something interesting out of their hat for sure. Another one, which I think we see some offense in, is Davidson and Wright State. Now, Wright State's a little bit different than we know them from before. This has been a team that generally finds their way to the NCAA tournament because they have a great big, whether it's Loud and Love or whoever. They don't necessarily have that this year. This is definitely a team that is not as post-heavy as normal. And I think defensively, they, as usual, are going to struggle a little bit. Davidson, new coach, but same last name. Bob McKillop's son takes over. Now, if you know anything about Bob McKillop, he is one of the premier offensive minds in basketball. He taught his son everything he knows. There could be a little holdover as far as maybe they're not exactly the same team, but I still think Davidson's really efficient. They're just a tough offense to deal with, and this is an incredibly difficult spot for a team like Wright State to come right in, kind of a new team, kind of adapting. This is something you guys remember. You're going to deal with for the first 3 or 4 games. That's why you really have to tiptoe these first couple of games. You need to see what you have here and then go with it. But one thing I know about Davidson, you're always going to get a strong offensive game out of them. And remember, they're going to be a team that occasionally is going to give you what you want on offense. Now, I'm not exactly sure what I think I'm going to see out of Wright State this year. I don't think they're going to be as strong as previous years, but Scott Nagy's a good coach. If I had to play this game, I'd probably still even look towards an over. I think this is a game where anytime Davidson plays, I think they're able to get 80 points. I think the issue with this one is some of the overs that I've talked about, like on Monday, the pace was there on both sides, right? Marshall, Queens, Princeton, Hofstra, all these teams that go quick. The problem you have here is you're really a slave in a way to them making shots, right? When you have tempo up and down, you're going to have more possessions. They create more opportunities. You're going to have to make sure Davidson makes all of their jump shots. You need them to be on point in this game. You don't necessarily have that pace also you can get that creates more possessions for you. So I think that's one that I feel like the number is right around where I would have put it, 150s, early 150s. So I don't know if there's a ton of value on that game. I think if you can get 3.5 or 4, I think Davidson's probably the play in this game. But again, guys, very small card, not a ton of action out there for me. Brody Hickey says, pick better. That's what you can do. Brody, listen, man, it's time that you find something else to do. I don't think gambling's for you, man. This is not as easy as just picking better, man. And I don't know you much of anything. I'm going to give you my opinion. You're welcome to do what you do with it. I know I'll be fine, but you got to get that mindset out of your head, man. It's clear I think you think maybe you're just going to get rich overnight doing this. That's not how it works, man. This takes a long time to kind of try to figure out even just a little bit. If that's the kind of gambler you or anyone else is, I would recommend you kind of peel back your expectations a little bit. That's just something that I would tell you. Whether you like me or not, I've been doing this a long time, and I've had to learn and make mistakes. And I think when you first start gambling, you think everything's going to be easy and you go on a good week or two and you think it's always going to be like that. I've had some dark days doing this stuff. It definitely could take something out of you. You lose a certain way. We've all heard it. We've all seen it. It sucks. And it can do some damage to you, man, for sure. All right. IUPUI, that's going to be a big question tonight. What do we see out of this group? They were absolutely pummeled in their first game, and they're going to be pummeled. This is a bad team. This is one of the worst teams in America. I'm never going to tell you, hey, you should play IUPUI tonight. That said, I'll tell you about Drake. First game for Drake. We don't really have much of a wavelength on what we're going to get out of them. Now, I think on the surface, Drake's a really good team, but I don't know who's playing for Drake tonight. There's all sorts of talk that 3 or 4 players aren't going to play tonight. And look, even without those guys, they'll still beat IUPUI. Like I said, I'm never going to tell you that you should get on IUPUI plus any sort of points. But remember with Drake, you're not going to have, I think, your full complement of players tonight. Now, this really comes down, I think, to maybe if you live in that area and you have some better information than maybe I do, that's helpful for you. Maybe you know that Wilkins, someone's going to play that I don't know about. I have to look into who's playing, and we're not going to get that information probably until right before tip. Would I, at this hour, at early in the season like this, force a play on Drake? No. I mean, I don't think it's necessary. IUPUI is bad, and that's really all I'll tell you. I would lean Drake, but I'm not going to play it personally. I just don't really – I want to make sure I know who's playing before I get involved with stuff. I took all of Marty's picks today. Well, good luck, man. I hope you win. Can you post your picks for Friday? Yeah, I'm going to – believe me. Guys, listen, do you think I'm just going to not do any content? I'll gladly post videos on what I think about these games. Absolutely. Nadu is a MILF hunter. Yeah, I definitely love MILFs. That's no secret with me. Somebody says Roman Penn's out. Yep, he's definitely out. I think Tucker, Sturts, they could be out as well, as someone alluded to. So that's kind of something to keep in mind. Barstool needs to get you a graphics guy. Listen, man, I'm just trying to get this show off the ground. If this does well, I'm sure we'll get that. All we have right now is overlays. I do my best, my man. I just try to come here and throw out the good content. Christopher Palochko says, Bellarmine lost a lot. Do you have any thoughts in this matchup against Louisville? Yeah, so for anyone that doesn't know, Bellarmine is in Kentucky. It's very close to Louisville. This is one of those little brother, big brother type of games, right? You're going to have a team that's coming across the town, and they're looking at this game and saying, wow, we have this one circled. This is a huge one for us. We don't know what we're going to get out of Louisville. If the exhibition games are any indication of what Louisville's going to be this year, they're going to have some major problems. This is a new coach with a new team, with a new everything, really. And this is a team in Bellarmine who, look, if you're not going to hit some shots from the outside, you're going to have trouble. They're going to compact everything inside the key, basically, and just kind of not let you get anything of what you want. They're not going to get destroyed inside. That's not what they want to do. They're going to slow things down. They're an efficient offense that can create opportunities for themselves. This is a game where you have to wonder about, first of all, the talent level that Louisville has. Can they even be successful against a team that plays like this? And B, Bellarmine is going to be way higher on this game than Louisville is going to be. You better believe that. Scott Davenport is a good coach. And remember, Bellarmine can't make the NCAA tournament. So games like this are very important to them, right? This is the Super Bowl right out of the gate for you. Going to be a lot of gusto behind them. And remember, this number opened 12. It's now down to 9. I've even seen 8.5s pop up. So the thought is this game is going to be close. I really have no idea what Louisville is. I really have to wonder what this group is under Kenny Payne, who has his first kind of real year as the coach there. I love the breakdowns. Appreciate the work you put in. Great content. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. I want to get to Monmouth and Seton Hall. This is a game I took a stab on. I played 135.5. I like the under in this game. Lot to unpack here, so let's get into it. Monmouth has a lot of new faces. They were really hit hard by graduation. And remember, Monmouth played Shaheen Holloway at St. Peter's twice a year. In fact, he played him last year 3 times. All the games were played in the mid to low 130s or lower. In fact, the tournament game they played was 60-54. So there's a lot of experience with these guys with each other. Shaheen has had a lot of success against King Rice and Monmouth. Now, Shaheen goes to Seton Hall, much better athletes. The problem you always have with Seton Hall is they never are seemingly fully healthy, and that's no different now. You look, though, a lot of the same type of kids that Shaheen's going to have, Casey and Defo, those kind of kids that were at St. Peter's. They know this Monmouth team so well. You also remember one thing that I'm a bit concerned about if I want to lay a number here with Seton Hall. When Shaheen was at St. Peter's, they weren't really teams that blew other teams out. They don't play very fast. They're more or less defend and kind of just do what you can kind of team. They're not going to go up and down. They're more deliberate with the basketball. And they want to be long and lengthy and defensive. I think Monmouth's pretty similar as well. I think they struggle to hit shots here. This is a long team, Seton Hall team, like guys like Tyrese Samuel and kids like that. I also wonder, I remember in years past, Seton Hall struggled to lay big numbers. That was not something that they were particularly strong in. To me, I feel like this game is like a, I don't know, 70-57, something like that. Like that's kind of where I think Monmouth can kind of hang around. And I don't know how quickly Seton Hall kind of gets into what I think this team will be maybe a month down the road. That's what makes stuff like college basketball early in the season so tough, right? You know, so kind of challenging. It's not easy. You also look at last season against certain types of teams. They struggled. Cal they struggled against. Bethune-Cookman they struggled against. It took a while for them to get going against Wagner. Didn't cover there. Pretty low-scoring game against Rutgers. They had a couple of games they blew out teams early on in, but these teams know each other so well, King Rice and Shaheen Holloway, as far as coaches. So I took a shot with the under, 135.5 here. I thought it was about where I thought it was a little too high. I wouldn't go much below 135, but that's where I liked it here. Do I have any basketball memorabilia? Nah, that's not really my thing, man. Is Timmy going to be playing college basketball forever? Yeah, it kind of seems like that, doesn't it? He's been around forever. Just a lot of those types of guys. Adam Newell says LSU, first game under McMahon, got to believe they handled the ruse. Yeah, you got to believe it. But again, another situation where entirely new team, entirely new coach, entirely new style. I love Matt McMahon. I think he's going to be a great coach at LSU. I think he's going to get a lot of good kids there. And you look at his team, it's not much different than the one at Murray. A lot of same familiar faces. However, they're all new kids on a new team in a new area. And you're bringing in a lot of transfers and JUCO and freshmen. So it's going to be, I think, some tinkering. A lot of people look at Kansas City and say, well, they lost a game 1 to a non-Division I team. That's correct. They did. But what you have here is you have a really hungry team that, say what you want, Marvin Menzies can, how do I say this, really dummy this game up, if you will. Marvin Menzies is going to take this game to an absolute crawl, right? He's going to take as much time as possible. When KC had Billy Donlin as their coach, they're a really good defensive team. And I don't think that comes away much from Menzies. I think they're the same types of coaches. So I think, would I run to bet on LSU? No. I'd more or less kind of look at an under here. I think LSU takes some time to really get going. But yeah, not one that I'm running to bet. Tom Sheehan says Rico Bosco took Drake. Listen, I wish him the best. I wouldn't tell you to take IUPUI, but Drake is not at full strength. I know around that town, a lot of people are saying that they're not going to have their full complement. That being said, I don't think people quite know how bad IUPUI is. But yeah, I wouldn't be betting it personally. Brennan Ely says, I caught Bellarmine at 12.5. Great number for you. That is a great number. Good for you, Brennan. That's there are two things you want to do when you bet on sports: get the best number and win. If you can do both, that's great. But yeah, it's good for you, man. That's awesome. Any Kentucky futures? No, I didn't play any Kentucky futures. No. Is King Rice at Monmouth a good coach? I think he's just average. There's nothing great. There's nothing special about him, really. I think he's just a guy, quite frankly. Another interesting game, Portland and Florida A&M University. Florida A&M got blown out 80-45 on Monday up at Eugene. They played Oregon. Now, obviously, this is a much different type of team. However, a couple things about Portland that I like. Shante Leggins is the coach there. Shante was at Eastern Washington, had a ton of shooters, very much not worried about ball handlers. It's more about system. It's more about high-level shooting and jump shots. So you look at FAMU. FAMU comes from the MEAC coaching kind of team where they want to press. They're going to press you hard 30% of the time, 35% of the time. That's what they do. If you can beat the press, you will score. It's that simple. Now, weirdly enough, this is how weird I am. I had saw this game in game 2, and I actually looked at what Portland did on Monday. Portland played a team called Lewis and Clark. I know I'm corny and lame and nerdy, but Lewis and Clark pressed them, and they shredded them, beat them up. So I think that's a nice prep for this. Obviously, you face one team that presses. Now you get a team that's a little better, or not much better, a little better. I feel like Portland will definitely score. I think the big question is going to be, can they stop FAMU? Because FAMU is a lot like MEAC and SWAC teams where the goal is get your head down, get to the basket, and dribble penetration. That's what they do. If I'm Portland, I'd zone the fuck out of FAMU and just say, make shots. And that's what I would do against any MEAC or SWAC team or any really low-level Division I team. They can't make shots. It's very rare you have a good shooting team from the SWAC or from the these really low-level conferences. So if I'm Portland, I would do that. Just that simple. I think the one kind of hang-up I have on a full game with Portland is some of the results last year against this type of competition. Now, I will say that was early in the season, but you look at some of these results. I mean, 62-58 against Alcorn, 86-74 against Pine Bluff, 74-63 against Morgan State, 74-68 against Southeast Missouri State University, 77-68 against Incarnate Word, and then a 1-point win against Cal Poly. So what is the gleaming thought from all of that? They struggled laying big numbers. They just did. Now, there's one entity here that I believe in, and that's Portland scoring the basketball. I think they have a good matchup here, and I think that their guards will do well against this type of team. And again, remember, they scored 1.2 points per possession the other night in that game against a press. And you look at their tempo, 67th, good. It's just, if I'm laying this number with Portland, I'm looking at it and saying, I don't know. They really struggled last year in this type of situation. But as we know, teams get stronger as the season goes on. That's why, again, guys, when you're playing these types of games and you're playing games early in the season, you have to understand that. Riker McDonald, pronounced Bellarmine. I don't give a fuck, dude. I don't care. I don't care how you pronounce shit. I broke that game down better than anybody. I really don't care how you pronounce it. All right. Jared Cormier says parlay, Davidson, Youngstown, Monmouth, Boise. I don't really play parlays. I think the one that could hang up there would be probably Monmouth. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Seton Hall wins. They're just really significantly better than Monmouth, but and Boise, I think, is more of a coin flip. South Dakota State didn't play well on Monday. But Akron's a really good defensive team. That's a tough spot, though, for South Dakota State. You play Akron, now you got to go out and play Boise. That's a rough spot from kind of a situational standpoint. Nadu, I'm Canadian. I'm looking to get into college basketball. Curious in what direction you would point me. I would say probably listen to this show. Maybe try to find a conference that you really like and that you enjoy and try to master it. Maybe start there. But I wouldn't just jump into the fray and try to pick apart these things. You really got to learn the game, and I would start with maybe a conference or two. Maybe being where you're from. I don't know where in Canada you are. Maybe take a look at the Big Ten or the Pac-12 or some sort of conference, maybe a smaller one as well. Early Final Four predictions. You have to check out my podcast, Round Ball. I talked about my Final Four predictions. Guys, also, say football. If you have a football question on college football this week, you're welcome to ask it. As far as the rest of this card, that's pretty much all I kind of had. Interestingly enough, Lipscomb, South Dakota is interesting. South Dakota had a really tough game on Monday at Wisconsin. Really struggled with kind of the length and the way Wisconsin plays. It'll be a little easier here. That said, I'm a big Lipscomb guy. I like Lenny Akoff. They kind of have a weird season last year. They still have Asana Sajala. They still have most of their talent there. I feel like both these teams score. This might be, as far as overs, I think this would be probably the only over that I would have any interest in tonight. I think both these teams find some pass to offense here. Sajala is really good, and I like South Dakota's ability to score. This number is kind of hanged right at 149.5. Nadu's a dog. Looking forward to the season. Thank you, my friend. Thoughts on Xavier this season? How big is Sean Miller coming back? I mean, listen, it's big. It's better than Travis Steele. That's a very open conference. I think outside of Creighton, there's no one else I really like. I need to see kind of what they look like before I get too involved with them. But I like Sean Miller. He's way better than Travis Steele. Do you have a favorite over of the night? The only over that I would look at is Lipscomb, South Dakota. How good are Drake? Again, I don't know who's playing tonight. Tonight, I don't think they're going to have much of who it will be there in a month or two. Thoughts on the Florida Gators this season? Yeah, I've talked about Florida. I wrote a blog last week about that, Winton. Go check out my blog page at Barstool Sports. I wrote a very kind of lengthy post about Florida. I'm very high on Florida. I love Castleton. I like Lofton. I love the change to Todd Golden at coach. I think the big thing they've had issues with over the last couple of years is coaching. I think Todd Golden makes them much better for a team that was making NCAA tournaments. No one at Barstool knows basketball like Nadu. When it comes to gambling, correct. Jake Marsh probably knows a lot about each team. He's the only one on that level. Jake is a good dude and knows a lot about basketball. I would love to do a show with him. I've asked him to come on. Maybe he will at some point. I know he told me he's working more on focusing on broadcasting. I will say one thing, guys, with Round Ball, I'm really just going to be focusing with gambling on that show. I'm not going to be off of it, but I'm just going to focus more on just the gambling side of things. And I'm going to let those guys kind of do the day-to-day stuff. That's a really good group of guys just doing their own thing as far as day-to-day news in college basketball. I'll come on at the end and do some gambling content. So I'm looking forward to kind of simplifying the role there. I already talked about Wright State Davidson. Any thoughts on action tonight? Let me get into some action here. I'll do that in 1 second. And guys, if you're hearing me right now and I'm getting to football, it means I likely already talked about the game you want me to talk about. And I'll kind of wrap up at the end. Do you ever play NBA? Not at this point. After Christmas, I'll play NBA. Let me start with action tonight. I mentioned last night, I thought, now again, I didn't know that Daquan Finn was going to play. That was reported after the fact. I actually like the under in that game. It ended up coming in, but I ended up pulling out of the game because of the Finn information. So I don't count it either way. There is one under I do like, though, tonight. Kent State Bowling Green. I like that under a lot. 55.5. I think a lot of people will point to Bowling Green and say this defense is solid. I think they're really equipped to deal with this kind of team. And, with Kent State and Bowling Green, you guys will see that they give up 31 points a game, both these teams. But I think a lot of that is skewed to the fact that they play really tough schedules. If you go and look at their actual MAC games, they're games that are played in the 20s. These teams really come to kind of the same level once they get into action. A lot of low-scoring games. Both these teams, I think, want to lean on the run, particularly. Kent State probably going to be without Cephas tonight. Best receiver. I think he has 70 catches. That's a big loss, okay? Colin Schlee may not be as effective without him. That's a big loss for Kent State. And as far as Bowling Green, both these teams really struggle to score touchdowns. Bowling Green's in the hundreds as far as touchdown percentage. Kent State's like 95th. These teams struggle. It's going to be some field goals. We saw the weather last night, cold, kind of raw, maybe some wind to speak of. I don't think the conditions are real good tonight. I think this is a game that's played really, I think, to 24. I think it's a lot like probably that game last night with Toledo and Ball State. I don't really like Schlee that much. I think Bowling Green will lead on the run, and I don't like either of these teams in a red zone. Throw in the fact that I think both defenses are actually pretty good. Did you give a pick on Youngstown? Guys, listen, I gave a pick on all this stuff, okay? I would lean Youngstown there. That's a good one, I think. All right. Nadu and Ever, the best gamblers. Well, look, I think we're both very solid gamblers, and I enjoy talking with Ev. I think there's a lot of good gamblers at Barstool. They're all different in a way. Do you have any thoughts on TCU football against Texas this weekend? Yeah, I like Texas. I think Texas wins by double digits. Look, guys, you got to ask yourself, and I'll ask this guy, Marshall, I'll ask you. You watched last night. TCU was made a top 4 team. Do you actually think they're a top 4 team? Because I don't. You do what you have to do. I don't care about rankings. Rankings don't mean shit to me. I look at what I know, and the truth is TCU would get absolutely fucking crushed by Georgia, by Ohio State, by Michigan, by Alabama, by Tennessee. They're not a top 4 team. Sorry. I know maybe right now they are because they're 9-0. Who gives a fuck about the Big 12? Seriously. Who cares? Let me say it again. Who fucking cares? Now, there is one team in the Big 12 that's just better than every other team on paper to me. And that's Texas. Why is a 6-3 team a 7-point favorite against a team that's 9-0 in the Final Four? Ask yourself that. That's all you need to know. Texas wins this game by double digits. And if they don't, I'll chalk it up and say, okay. The whole world is on TCU, yet the line is going the other way. I've seen these before. This is the same situation as Oregon, UCLA. UCLA was undefeated, on fire. They're coming into Oregon. Oregon's a 6-7-point favorite. What did Oregon do? Rolled. Texas is very good. On offense, they're among the best in the country. And I think their defense is significantly better than TCU's. That's the one thing about Texas. Look, I know they've had some ups and downs. But remember, had Quinn Ewers out, should have beat Alabama. They got a raw deal in that game. You and I all know that if Quinn Ewers plays, they beat Alabama. And I know they didn't, but it was 20-19. I chalked that up as a very good result. I don't really care. You have to, I think, be willing to see through this stuff as gamblers. This game could come down to a 3-point game or something. I don't really care. This game screams Texas 38-27. That's what this game screams to me. I think we finally see Texas put something together again defensively, kind of like they did against Alabama. I was really impressed with that performance. I really was. Arkansas +3 against LSU. Another game that I think screams the home team here. I like Arky. I think LSU coming off that huge win the way they did. Are they actually ready to compete and lay 3 on the road off of a huge win? Like, this is hard to do. It's hard for a psyche of a team to get off that, especially a team that has not had a lot of success. LSU has not had much success really since the Joe Burrow year. And most of those kids on this team, that was a couple of years ago. That's long gone. This is the first real sustainable success LSU has had this year and over the last year or two. Big ask to go to Pig Sooie and win. That's a good offense, man. I think it's a high-scoring game. That's just my thought. Will I get there on it? I don't know. But I lean Arky. Is Illinois going to win the Big Ten? No. Come on, man. I like Illinois, but you actually think they can beat Ohio State? I'll give you the answer. Fuck no. They lost to Michigan State last week. No. Just when you think Illinois is trustworthy, they go and do that. No, they're not going to win the Big Ten. How do you think Loyola will fare in the A10? It's funny. In the offseason, I didn't even realize they went to the A10. I actually learned that a couple of weeks ago. It's one of the things I just kind of missed, weirdly enough. But I like Denzel. I like Drew Valentine. I think he's a good coach, very young. They're always going to be really good defensively. How will they fare in the A10? I think they played one game, so we'll see. Guys, a lot of these questions are questions you want to ask me in a week or two. I have kind of my external thoughts about these teams as a whole, where they'll kind of slot in. I think Loyola's probably a top 5 team in the A10. I mean, I don't know if the A10's that good this year. So I know you're not a parlay guy, but if you had to generate one for college basketball, what would you lay? How many teams? You want 3 teams? If I had to play a parlay tonight, the 3 teams I would use are Youngstown. If I'm playing Youngstown, Portland team total over, and I don't like to play parlays with singles that I'm playing, so I'll give you I don't know. I like those 2. I don't this is why I don't play parlays, because I don't have high volume cards, so I don't really play parlays. Maybe that under I talked about in the MAC. Are you still doing a show on Thursday? Yeah, we'll do a show tomorrow. But this is more basketball going forward. But yeah, we're still going to do. That's why I'm talking about football now. Do I have any thoughts on American and Marist? No, I do not. No, I don't. I have no interest in that game. It's probably the one game I didn't really have interest in. Do you like Creighton in the Big East? No love for Villanova. No, not at this time. I think Creighton is significantly better than every team. Any thoughts on FGCU and San Diego? What are you going to get at FGCU? They just beat USC. Now you got to go to San Diego. Steve Lavin, new coach, a lot of new faces there. Again, guys, this is what's difficult. You cannot just be forcing plays. 2 situations I don't want to bet into right now. Here goes the lunatic freaking out about asking people for picks. Well, yeah, because I already talked about them. Do a show and see how you would deal with it. Nadu, please talk about Louisiana and Jordan Brown. No. Max Schmeling, love the show. That's weird because I always see you talking shit about the show. But again, thanks for watching. All right, motorcycle guy, get the fuck out of here. TCU is absolutely not a top 4 team. No, they're not. Really? Do people know you can start the beginning video from the beginning? Yes, you can, actually. You can actually start this from the beginning if you didn't know that. Thoughts on Big Cat's gambling skills? Well, he's a high volume guy. I'll give him that. We definitely bet different than each other. I think all those guys know way more about sports than they lead on. I think they're all pretty astute on how to gamble. That's the big thing about those guys. They all know how to gamble. I'm not anywhere close to his level as far as the people, the type of shit he has to probably deal with. I think he's probably a better gambler than he leads on. But he's a high volume shooter, right? If you shoot 60 times, things will go well for you. Is he gambling like me? Do we gamble like each other? No, we're different types of gamblers, for sure. Why is Pick Central so boring? I don't think it's boring. I enjoy going on Pick Central. What a shame. I'm not talking about Rico, guys. I don't really care. He has an ability to come on. He doesn't want to come on. What else do we have here? Would I play San Diego 3.5? Again, guys, I don't. You have to realize that's a totally new situation, right? San Diego's playing a Division I opponent finally, a new coach. There's a lot of stuff there. And FGCU is coming off a huge win. So yeah, the one game that I like tonight is under 135.5 on Seton Hall and Monmouth. Please, guys, check out my latest interview on the sit down. I interviewed Sammy Gravano. I think it was awesome. People really seem to like it. So please go check that out on my YouTube channel, on the podcast, wherever you feel like consuming it. I like that you like the Lipscomb over. I like that one and Davidson over. Yeah, I think they're both pretty good ones, man, for sure. Thoughts on Ohio State covering the 40 against Indiana? Well, yeah, if you didn't do it last week, you should be able to do it this week, right? I wonder though, how excited is Ohio State about these types of games? I mean, I was looking at like LeBron, right? LeBron's only looking forward to the playoffs, man. They're looking forward to that game against Michigan. Who cares about winning by 40? I think those psyches are hard to get through. That's just me. Would I play Indiana? No. You should try and timestamp the show. Listen, Chili. Listen, Chili. I don't know if you know, man, but I'm just telling you, I have so much I'm doing, man. I just try to roll this shit out. My producers worked thin. All I can do is most of the stuff I do is on my own, right? We don't have a ton of guidance. We just do what we do, and we're just trying to grind and put out a cool product. Hopefully this show gets to the point of like a Brandon Walker show where I can get some resources behind it. But it's a little different than what you think. I don't just have people that I can go to, hey, do this, do this, do that. I just try to grind and do my own thing. I try to create limited necessary resources for stuff. I just try to take what I have, which is a camera and a computer, and run. That's what I try to do. I do that with the sit down. I do that with this show. I do that with everything I do. I have proven commodities like the sit down. I'm very close, I think, to getting some resources for that show, but it takes time. I'm not part of my take, right? I'm not some of the other shows. I just grind and do what I can do. I use what I have, which is my head. I have this pen and paper. I have a mic and a computer, and I just run, right? That's what I do, guys. Let me switch on my light here. Fuck, man, my light bulb's out. God damn it. I got to get a new light bulb. Can you touch on LSU UMKC? Already did. Buddy, we're 40 minutes into the show. Great show as always. Thank you, my friend. Rob with 2 B's says, shocker, you aren't talking about Rico. We're all used to all your content revolving around him. Oh, Rob, did you miss the fact that I have literally the biggest mafia podcast out? Yeah, a show that does tens of thousands of listens a week, tens of thousands of listens a week on YouTube. Did you miss that one? Buddy, I have created my own platform in my life. Everything I've had, I've worked for myself. I've been doing this since 2009, buddy. I've been grinding my fucking ass off. I don't need nobody for nothing. Always remember that. Maybe you may need somebody, but I don't. I'm a fucking self-starter. That's what I do here. That's one of the reasons that I'm now doing the halftime shows and I'm doing other stuff because I'm willing to play ball with everybody. Listen, we don't have to get into the history with Rico. Okay. Stop. Okay. I've owned that kid many times. You and I both know it. We all know that. So cut it loose, bro. But thanks for watching, Rob. Appreciate you. You're adding to our algorithm today. Thank you. Jeff, are you in the mob? No, I'm not in the mafia. Not at all. Brandon Walker is the king of the South. I don't disagree with that. I'm a big Walker guy. I like Walker. Davidson money line just got in here. Sorry. I wouldn't be laying. I don't lay money lines on 4.5 point favorites. Not my thing. I think they cover though. That way we wouldn't have to listen to you go back and forth with everyone asking. I don't know what you're talking about. Outside of UAB, what mid-major do you like this season? Toledo. Love Toledo. Big Toledo guy. Youngstown State. San Diego State. South Dakota State. Who else? Loyola. VCU. St. Louis. Couple I'm into. All right, guys. Let's wrap this thing up. We've been here for about 45 minutes. The only play that I made tonight, personally, is Seton Hall and Monmouth under 135. If you feel like joining me there, you're welcome to it. Nobody's holding a gun to your head. That's where I'm at with it. I will be live in Philadelphia. If you're in Philadelphia, you better be at the Barstool Invitational. If you want to meet me, you're welcome to it. I'll be there. I will be here tomorrow night, same time, same place. Let me look at the card for tomorrow. What do we have tomorrow? I haven't looked yet. More games. Good. Better card. So that'll be good. I'll prepare. We'll have some fun. We're here same time, same place tomorrow. Please do me a favor before you go. Hit that like button and make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And you can catch all the great shows here at Barstool Sportsbook. I will see you all tomorrow, 4 o'clock, same time, same place. We'll go over more games. We'll have more meat on the bone, if you will. And we got some cool things to look forward to. Obviously, the invitational games. We've got the aircraft carrier game, I believe. I think it's Gonzaga, Michigan State on Friday night as well. All sorts of cool stuff. So that'll be fun. So catch me tomorrow, 4 o'clock Eastern. Thank you for watching. Go check out my Sammy the Bull interview, please. You'll enjoy it, I promise. I'll check you out all later. See you.